spiritualized insecurity is not humility. It's fear dressed up in church clothes. It's putting more faith in your perception of your own inability than in the reality of God's sufficiency. I promise, God needs neither your confidence nor your competence to pull off his calling in your life. All he needs is your willingness. A new year comes with new energy and new excitement, new opportunities and new momentum, but momentum without direction isn't necessarily a good thing. It can accidentally take us to places we were never meant to be, or it can just weave us around to the middle of nowhere. We can go fast and not end up in places that matter. And so if we're going to head in 2026 in the direction of the calling and the mission and the lives God has for us, direction matters. Which means, as Nicole powerfully challenged us last week, we need to focus less on the question, where am I going and what do I want to accomplish in the year ahead? And more on the question, where is God leading me and am I willing to follow him? It's difficult, though, to be willing to follow him. I think we got to be honest about that. It's just so easy and so deeply human to settle for what's familiar. To say, I'm going to stay safe instead of advance. And to confuse comfort with wisdom. It's just what we do as human beings, but God is calling us onward. The catch, though, is that if we're going to say yes to that, if we're going to step into the direction God has for our lives in the year ahead, we have to say yes before we fully understand where onward is. Before he tells us all the twists and turns that it's going to involve to follow him. When we say yes to following Jesus, we don't always know where we're going. We just know who we're following. We don't always know where we're going. We know who we're following, and sometimes following him will lead you to places that are greater and more beautiful than you possibly could have imagined, and sometimes it will lead you to places that are so challenging. You never would have gone there on your own unless he led you there. But following Jesus means trusting him with our past, our present, and our future because he's trustworthy. And if we'll do that, he'll lead us to the lives and stories that he dreamed us up and knit us together and placed us right here, right now to live. I'm convinced of this. God has a role for you to play in bringing his love and his hope to a hurting world in ways that help people meet Jesus and follow him fully. There's a role for you in that. And I know some of you are spinning right now on all the excuses. You're like, yeah, not me though. Maybe for some of the other people in this room, Mike is talking to a lot of people in this room. There's a role for them. They probably have gifts and they probably have wisdom. I'm not good. I don't have the talent. I don't have the ability. I don't have the history. I don't have the Bible knowledge. And hear me out. Scripture is full of examples of God moving his mission onward, not through the people we would look at and call the most capable, but simply through the people who were the most willing, the ones who said yes. And today, I want to look at a guy who did that, who said yes to a difficult calling. But before we jump into that, I want to point out that we don't have to say yes to difficult callings. In fact, often we don't. We kind of look at what God's leading us toward and think, that doesn't seem fun, and that doesn't seem comfortable, and I don't know exactly what it's going to cost me. And so we hold a hand up to it. We're not the first people in the history of the world to struggle with that. I think throughout the Bible, there are 3 big categories of response to God's calling on people's lives, and all of them still ring true today, because the question for every generation is, who is it that's willing to risk everything and suffer anything to bring the love of Jesus to a hurting world? Who will say yes? And the answer is not all of us. Or not all of us always. There are certain times when every single one of us just is a little hesitant to follow where God is leading. In fact, I think the most natural, common response to God tugging at our hearts is resistance. We just kind of hold a hand up to him and we're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. And when we look through the lens of resistance, we say, not me. I know you want that done, Lord. That sounds awesome, but can it just not be me who has to pull it off? Jonah is a great biblical example of somebody who got called by God and reacted with resistance and said, not me. The first 3 verses of the book of Jonah tell us his story pretty well. It says, the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. So God gave Jonah this really clear mission. He's like, hey, I need you to go preach to Nineveh. My heart is breaking over the wickedness and the evil in that city. And Jonah was like, I don't like that mission. I want a different mission. And he tried to run away or sail away. And it did not go good for Jonah. All right, but I look at his story, and then I look in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm kind of grateful that I haven't been eaten by a giant fish yet. Because I respond to God like Jonah so often. Like simple, embarrassing example. Okay, a couple weeks ago, I was in Walmart, and I saw this couple that looked like they were counting their cash and looking at their cart to see if they had enough. And I felt God tap me on the shoulder and say, you have cash? And listen, I never have cash, ever. It's like Jenny can smell it on me. I walk in the door and she fork it over. And it's all right. I spend money on less stupid stuff and less fast food when she takes all the cash. But somehow that day, I had found $15 in a fold of my wallet. And I don't know how it beat the system. I don't know how it escaped questions with Jenny. But that $15 was living off the grid, baby. And so I earmarked it that day for bebops on my way home from Walmart, because the casserole Jenny was making for dinner, well, I didn't want to eat it, all right? What I wanted to do was eat a burger on the way home and be pretty full and then pretend I was eating dinner and tell my kids, in this house, we eat what your mother makes. So this is another layer of this not being the finest moment of my life, but that's what I was going to do with the cash. And so I'm sitting there looking at these people and having it out with God, not wondering if I could give them the money, but wondering if I would. And I'm like, this is a lot for Tuesday. And tater tot casserole is I don't want it, and I want a macho nacho burger, and and why? And maybe they'll have enough. All right, and then I got a phone call from somebody at Revision who's going through some stuff, and so I took the phone call, and I walked around Walmart for a few minutes just to talk it out, but it was 3-4 minutes, and I got back to the checkout, and they were gone, and my heart sank, because I could have been willing. I should have been willing. Because who knows what God could have done if I handed over that cash. But I bet he could have done even better than a macho nacho burger. I'm willing to guess. And I wish I could stand up here and tell you tons of stories about how I'm a hero. But that's my life. I'm not proud of it. But it's my life. And chances are it'll be yours too. If you follow Jesus long enough, you will have moments where he asks you to step out in faith and something inside you goes, I don't want to. Not me. And sometimes it's not me that we say, it's who me. I think a second response that we have is insecurity. God calls us to do stuff and we're like, did you beam that did I intercept a message for the wrong person? I can't do that. Lord, that's not, I'm not good. Moses did that. God showed up to him in a bush that was it was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. He's like, hey, I'm going to need you to go back to Egypt to set my people free. And Moses was like, cool trick. No. I stutter and I'm scared and my brother should go. Send somebody else, man. I'm not, I can't do that. This is what we read in Exodus chapter 3. God told Moses, so now go. I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? I love it because Moses here is arguing with God I know you made me, but you probably didn't realize I have no skills. I have no ability. You're wrong about me, and I'm right about me, and I can't do that. I think we do this who me thing more than we want to admit, and we feel less bad about it than when we say not me. We do insecurity, and we don't think it's as disobedient as resistance. We know, I knew in Walmart that I should have just done it, and I didn't want to. But so I'm going to step back because I'm too humble to say yes to that. It's humility. But listen, spiritualized humility or spiritualized insecurity is not humility. It's fear dressed up in church clothes. It's putting more faith in your perception of your own inability than in the reality of God's sufficiency. I promise, God needs neither your confidence nor your competence to pull off his calling in your life. All he needs is your willingness.